This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
The Medrash in the Yalkut on Parshas Emor brings a new reason for the mitzvah of Sukkah. The Medrash says that on Rosh Hashanah Hashem is oimed bedin, and Hashem judges mankind, and on Yom Kippur Hashem is choseim the din, and perhaps Klal Yisrael is chayiv Galus, and therefore we go into Galus on Sukkos. So in case there was a chiyuv of Galus on Klal Yisrael or on a Jew, we're Mekayim, we fulfill that chiyuv by going into the Sukkah. This way we've fulfilled our quota of Galus. Now, this reason is somewhat difficult to understand in light of the fact there are many possible gezeros that could have come onto a person over Yom Kippur. There are many different types of oinshim, and we don't specifically try to fulfill each one. Why is it that Galus is the type of oinish that we're looking to fulfill? After all, Galus is something that one is chayiv for killing b'shoigeg. Is this really the avera that we're most worried about? Is Galus really the oinish that we're most concerned about in the aftermath of the Yom Naram? So it occurred to me that there may be a specific benefit of going into Galus, which is particularly relevant to the Yom Tif of Sukkos. We know one of the main ideas of the Sukkah is a makam of hashras Shechina. In fact, we've said from many sources that the Sukkah is a virtual Beis Hamikdash. That is why we take leave of the Sukkah when the Sukkot is over. The same way there's a mitzvah of Lina, taking leave of the Beis Hamikdash. And there are various features of the Sukkah that are similar to the Beis Hamikdash. In fact, the Arizal writes in his Shulchan Aruch that the positioning of the menorah in the Sukkah and the Shulchan in the Sukkah should be similar to that of the Beis Hamikdash. As the Shem Yishmael writes in many, many places, the Kedusha of the Sukkah is similar to the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash. So what we're trying to generate with the Sukkah is a makam of hashras Hashchina. But we know, tzadikim hein hamerkava. The tzadikim themselves are really the main chariot of the Shechina, like it says, ha'avos heim hamerkava, as the pasuk says, vayal Elokim me'al Abraham. So how can a person render themselves a makom for hashras Hashchina? The Talmud Devar writes in Parak Tes, from the Zohar and Parshas Vayakal, that a way of accustoming oneself in the midah of malchus and becoming a merkava to the Shechina, the Talmud Devar says, Yigla mimakam l'makam l'shem shamayim. One should go into exile from place to place for the sake of heaven. Uvazeh yaseh merkava el hashchina hagoyla. And by doing so, one becomes a chariot to the Shechina that is, so to speak, in exile. In other words, by going into Galus, one becomes the merkava to the Shechina. So possibly, this time of the year where we're trying to create a resting place for the Shechina, a virtual Beis Hamikdash, a place the same way where the Ananei HaKavod rested on the Mishkan, in our Sukkah, the Ananei HaKavod, the Schach, are resting, perhaps it's not on the Sukkah, perhaps by us going into the Sukkah, we're now going into Galus, we ourselves become the Merkava L'Shechina, and we become Roy and eligible for us ourselves to be the Merkava to the Shechina, which is what we're trying to accomplish through the mitzvah of Sukkah. So perhaps by going into Galus and rendering ourselves the Merkava to the Shechina, we are able to use this Sukkah. Instead of the Shechina resting on the Sukkah, it's the Shechina rests on us when we go into the Sukkah. We become the Merkava through the agent of the Sukkah. Wishing everyone Chag Kosher V'Sameach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.